Well, I think it must be time to go live on a bicycle live stream on Sunday, June the 5th at 7:13 a.m. I've ridden 30 kilometres, heading home, and this is a bit of a rarity to be able to do a live stream because it has been so inclement, the weather, until recently, and that's what this live stream is going to be talking about, why I can do one now, why the weather has improved so much. So, you know, I haven't been doing many. I haven't been able to ride the bike much. I haven't been able to go for many walks until the last week and a half. And then especially the last week, and looking forward on the forecast, another week of this amazing weather, normal weather for this time of the year, for winter, dropping down 8 degrees this morning. We have suddenly returned to normal weather. So this morning's topic is, why has the weather returned to normal since the election 2 weeks ago? And this was actually a topic that came up. We had some great conversation yesterday, talking for hours at the Vegan Luck, and this was something that came up. And it's different to the topic I was going to talk about. I was actually going to talk about Maya in relation to a meme that's generated a lot of controversy, but we'll come back to that next weekend. So why has the weather returned to normal since the election? Well, one way to help understand this is that we are living on a living entity. So we are living entities living on a living entity, Mother Earth, and Mother Nature, as we refer to her, Gaia, as people know her by another name. And we have a relationship with Gaia, with this living entity, and this relationship has the dynamics, the respect and the love that exists in all respectful relationships. And when we do not respect those tenets of love and connection, there is a price to pay. There is a dysfunction in the relationship. And if you like to think of the relationship that you have with anyone where there is a lack of respect, whether it's you disrespecting them or them disrespecting you, you will know that the energetic exchange is extremely difficult and can bring up, as a response in you, different emotions of frustration, which is sadness, anger, and the variations of that. I mean, they all come back to basic emotions of sadness and anger. And so we, in our worldly relationships with each other, we will experience these dysfunctional connections where, how do you feel when someone is constantly using and abusing you, basically? How do you feel? It takes a very wise, centered soul, someone that's very strongly heart connected, to remain at peace, to remain in a state of understanding when subjected to that sort of dysfunctional connection. So if you just think for a moment how you feel when a family member, a friend, a workmate, neighbour, a colleague behaves in a way that you feel disturbs your peace. I mean, they're not actually disturbing your peace, that's your response and your reaction to it. But you're still finding it difficult to be around that person. Energetically, that person has an energetic discord and you're aware of it. So you feel ill at ease. And so it is with Mother Nature, with Gaia, that we, for too long, have been thinking of Gaia as a thing rather than a living being. We have been exploiting her, disrespecting her, and expecting that we can continue to do that without basically any implications, which, without anything occurring in the long run, which is ridiculous to think that we can just continue to behave in a way like that will Helen says exactly, yes. So it's ridiculous to think that we can behave in a way like that. I've just realised I pulled up at the world's longest traffic lights, and they've heard me, thank you, and they're changing. I should have said it earlier. So, we would have to be very, very thick to pretend that we can exploit Mother Nature and exploit Mother Earth and not have to pay a price for it. So the weather, this is interesting, our previous Prime Minister, Scummo as some people call him, Smirko as I call him because of the expression on his face, as he smirks, as he, rubs your nose in it. Our previous Prime Minister, during his reign, we saw bushfires, flooding multiple times, climate disasters on a local level that exceeded what we'd previously seen. Even leading up to the election, I think it was in Queensland, the statistic was we received 5 times the annual rainfall. It was something like that. It was like, what? Or it was that, or I might have it wrong. It might be we received the annual rainfall in the first 5 months. Whatever it was a large amount of rain. Now, these things don't just occur by chance. Everything is perfectly timed, perfectly orchestrated. And so, in the grand scheme of things, this is just, Dana says, protesting tomorrow in front of Nike's large store and the slaughter of kangaroos used for their shoes. Fantastic, fantastic. Great respect to you, Dana, for doing that. That is fantastic. Takes a lot of courage to do that. I've watched some of the videos, and all respect to you for bringing that awareness. So on a climate level, what we have been seeing is Mother Nature rebelling and saying, enough is enough. It's Mother Nature being assertive. It's the same thing that you or I would do if somebody came up and tried to exploit us, tried to attack us, tried to punch us, whatever. It's the same thing. So what Mother Nature is doing has been standing up for herself and rebelling against the treatment. Now, as I'm writing this morning, I am seeing weather like we used to have. And the Dana says the protest against Nike you're doing is in New York City. Wow, fantastic. That's fantastic. So what we're seeing now is a return to the way it used to be when I used to be able to go out riding this time of the year and could almost be guaranteed that it would be fine weather for days and weeks on end. And that really became something that I became strongly aware of when I started getting notifications showing photos that I'd taken this time of the year in the, say, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And I was just going, wow, spectacular mornings. Where did they go? And so much has changed in the last 2 years for us personally and on a global scale, and I've spoken about this recently. So much has changed that we can't help but be aware that what was normal is no longer normal. And this is, most people I speak to say the same thing. They're like, wow, what is going on? And see, this is, when you get people noticing this thing, and this is what we talked about yesterday. So what has happened is we now have an environmental minister in Australia who is vegan, Mark Butler. Now I think that's probably a first, and I think that's something that Mother Nature would think kindly of. We have a Prime Minister who's going to have a challenging time ahead of him to make the changes that need to be made to help our future. However, it seems initially that his heart's in the right place. The problem is he's going to be working in a system of government that no matter how good your intentions are, you're going up against the power block, I guess you could say, without going too deep into this situation. But definitely an improvement on our previous Prime Minister, who was disliked on such a large level. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say they liked him, and that was a common thing that we were speaking about yesterday. So many people so glad to get rid of him. Such a large teal vote coming through from the independents. So many women coming into government now. Very, very pleasing to see that on a political level there might be some positive change that flows through on an environmental level. We might actually get some respect. I should say Mother Nature might actually get some respect back, and we might, for a while, I hope, return to a normal weather pattern and be able to not go through massive floods and fires and so forth. Time will tell how accurate my prediction is, but it does seem a very good coincidence that we have had good weather since about a week after the election. So it's food for thought, and thank you for watching. And remember to live vegan and save lives, and enjoy this great weather in case it doesn't last long enough. Ahimsa.